Hello everyone, welcome back to Talking History. My name's Liz. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you're all keeping well. Today's video is Lady of Mercia, Warrior Queen, Aethelflaed. So grab yourselves a drink, get comfortable as we travel back in time. There's only a handful of women warriors from the past that has truly captured our imaginations for centuries, the most famous being Boudica, complete with her chariot with spiked wheels, and the armoured teenager Joan of Arc. But these women were the exceptions. They were both women living in a world full of men, yet these men followed them to battle. Unfortunately, Aethelflaed is a warrior woman who is less celebrated, yet she's exceptional. She's exceptional for so many different reasons. She is one of only a small few known women who had not only held the role as mother and lady within the household, but also as a wife and daughter of a king within the court. But she also wielded power on the battlefield. And she is the only English queen in English history to directly hand her reign over to her daughter. Aethelflaed is a medieval inspiration who has been overshadowed by her father, her husband, her brother, even her own nephew, who would go on to become the first king of all England. Aethelflaed was born around 870, and she was the eldest child born to Alfred the Great and Aethelswith. Unfortunately, there's very little known about her childhood. We can assume that her education would have been the same as her siblings, and education was something that was important to her as she grew older, much like her father. And because of the time she was born, it is quite possible that she would have seen the invasions from the Vikings, and she would have been around 8 or 9 when her family fled to the Somerset marshes for safety. But she would have seen within how a few months later her father had turned the tables on the Vikings and won a stunning victory at the Battle of Edington. So when Aethelflaed was around 16, her father arranged a marriage to Aethelred, the Lord of Mercia, and Aethelred was a loyal lieutenant to Alfred, and he sought Alfred's help in forcing out the Vikings from Mercia. So Aethelflaed and Aethelred's union was one of political, and it was a union that was designed to strengthen the two kingdoms against the Danish and Norwegian invasions. Aethelflaed left home and went to Mercia, but she had Mercian blood running through her veins. Her mother was a Mercian noblewoman, as was her grandmother, Edbert. Asser had written in Alfred the Great's biography that Edbert was also a very powerful woman in her own right. However, Aethelflaed's first appearance in any historical record is when she's a fully grown woman. She's around 19 or 20 years old, already married to Aethelred, and quite possibly already a mother. This record is of Alfred the Great's will, where he left Aethelflaed an estate and £100, and he left Aethelred a precious sword. Aethelflaed and Aethelred had one daughter named Alfwin, and she was born around 900, but no later than 903. There isn't an exact date of birth for her. And it's thought that Aethelflaed had a very difficult and traumatic birth. And William of Malmesbury, who had wrote the biography on Aethelstan, had recorded that Aethelflaed had declined to have sex with her husband after the birth of their daughter because she knew the risks it posed on her life, and in her words, how it was unbecoming of a daughter of a king to give way to such a delight, which after a time produced such painful consequences. Ethelred was much older than Aethelflaed, but they appear to have had a good relationship as their alliance was becoming a powerful team. They took back vast areas of the Mercian land back from the Danes. This was both in the Midlands and in the north. Aethelflaed brought a great deal of military leadership and strategy, and Aethelflaed was also signing diplomatic documents, and she was presiding over provincial court in place of Ethelred, as his health was steadily deteriorating. So as Aethelflaed's health was deteriorating, she assumed more of his responsibilities, including the arrangement of diplomatic agreements, and she had many of the towns refurbished. Aethelflaed's mother had only ever held the title as wife of the king. She never signed a single charter with Alfred. So Aethelflaed took full advantage of a tradition that granted women in Mercia greater rights. In 907, Aethelflaed was becoming concerned by the relocation of Vikings from the Irish coast to the northwest. So Aethelflaed offered these Vikings lands in the Wirral so they could settle, but she also instructed for the ancient Roman city of Chester to be refortified, just in case. And it turned out that her instincts were bang on, because these Vikings in the exact same year decided they got a little bit bored, so they attacked Chester, but they failed to breach Chester's walls. Aethelflaed was beginning to gain a reputation as a canny ruler, not only in the English-speaking world, but also across the waters. Her reputation had reached her Viking foes as she was developing a name as a keen diplomat, an engaged ruler, and a military strategist. Aethelflaed was taking more responsibilities for the military activities of Mercia as her husband's health deteriorated. She understood the importance of aligning herself with powerful rulers. She supported her brother's reconquest of Mercian territories in the Danelaw. Then in 910, at the Battle of Tettenhall, which is in modern-day Wolverhampton, the Viking troops had retaliated for Aethelflaed's and Edward's successful campaigns within the Danelaw. The Vikings laid waste to large parts of Mercia, and they plundered and they destroyed lands. But a joint brother and sister Anglo-Saxon army headed them off at Tettenhall, and the Vikings were massacred. And it's reported that 3 Viking kings were killed within this battle. This battle had secured Aethelflaed as the image of the victorious warrior queen. Not only was Aethelflaed a formidable warrior, she was also a shrewd ruler who extended the work that her father had done. So she had Alfred's fortifications at Tamworth, Stafford and Warwick, which these cities owe their existence to her efforts. She also believed that the recently rejuvenated Anglo-Saxon kingdoms depended on the church and its divine favour to secure their reputation as worthy opponents to the Danish pagans. She also invested in church buildings throughout Mercia, particularly in Gloucester, which she had transformed from a derelict backwater into a vibrant town. Ethelred died in 911 and Aethelflaed was declared Lady of Mercia by the Earldom of Mercia, which is basically a high-ranking royal official. And it was soon proven that they had made the right decision by giving her the title and not passing it on to any male heir, as she secured some of the greatest victories in battle in the early 10th century. In 917, her troops had reconquered the Viking city of Derby. And a year later, she secured Leicester. And it's from there that she made her way towards the prestigious Viking-held city of York. She had taken 2 of the 5 boroughs of Danelaw, Derby and Leicester. Unfortunately, Aethelflaed never got her chance to secure York. Aethelflaed died on the 12th of June in 918, aged 48, possibly from dysentery. If Aethelflaed had secured York, it would have been her greatest achievement. But that achievement would go on to her nephew, Aethelstan. Aethelflaed had actually brought up her nephew. She somewhat fostered him, as he was born to Edward's mistress. And this was Aethelstan and his younger sister. So she feared that if Edward would soon marry, and this would leave Aethelstan out of the succession, this would leave him in danger. And again, it proved her fears were right, when Aethelstan was left out of the succession when more male heirs were born. And he had several unsuccessful attempts made on his life, but he would eventually go on to become the first king of all England. So why is it that we don't know more about this warrior queen? This queen who banished most of the Vikings. Why do we not know more about her? One of the reasons could be down to her own brother. He had her largely written out of the Anglo-Saxon chronicles in order to not promote the separation between Wessex and Mercia. Or was it because the fact he knew that his sister, a woman, did a damn more better job than he did? Maybe that's just my opinion. After all, it was Edward who took control of Mercia after Aethelflaed died, he didn't even give his niece Alfwyn a chance. For some reason, he didn't think that. I don't know whether he thought she couldn't do it. I don't know. None of us know. But he took control of Mercia. And he was the one who encouraged, shall we say, Alfwyn to enter a nunnery. And it's in this nunnery where she would spend the rest of her life. Surprisingly, though, Aethelflaed maintained a celebrated reputation under the Normans, with chronicles applauding her military achievements. Aethelflaed is as important now as she was more than over 1,000 years ago. She is a strong female role model. She was a product of her age, constrained by her time, yet she achieved so much. This is a woman who should be remembered as a mother, a diplomat, and one hell of a warrior and a queen. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoy my videos. Leave me a little comment down below. But look after yourselves. Be kind to yourself. See you all soon. Take care. Bye.